Howard Schultz's story didn't begin in a boardroom or business school classroom. It began in the dusty hallways of a housing project in Brooklyn, New York, where dreams rarely took root and even fewer ever grew. Born in 1953 into a working-class Jewish family, Howard grew up watching his father bounce from job to job. Never respected, never insured, and often injured. One image haunted Howard for life. His father lying on the couch with a broken leg, angry and defeated after losing yet another job without benefits or dignity. That moment planted the seed of a lifelong mission, not just to succeed, but to build something that offered people what his father never had: respect, opportunity, and care. Howard wasn't a prodigy. He didn't come from wealth or privilege. His family had no connections. He was, in his own words, a poor kid from the wrong side of the tracks. But what he did have, an unmatched fire in his belly to escape the cycle of struggle. He got a football scholarship to Northern Michigan University, became the first in his family to go to college, and worked odd jobs just to get by. He wasn't chasing millions. He was chasing meaning. After graduation, Howard worked his way up in the sales world and eventually landed at a company that sold coffee makers. It was there he noticed that one tiny Seattle company kept buying more machines than any other client: Starbucks. At that time, Starbucks was a small chain of shops selling whole coffee beans, not lattes or cappuccinos. Curious, Howard flew out to visit them. The moment he stepped into the store, inhaled the aroma of fresh roasted beans, and spoke to the passionate founders, he felt something he couldn't explain. It wasn't just coffee, it was a culture. He joined Starbucks in 1982 as their marketing director, but it wasn't until a trip to Milan in 1983 that his vision crystallized. In Italy, Howard saw bustling espresso bars filled with community, conversation, and connection. It was more than caffeine, it was a ritual, a daily experience, a cultural anchor. That trip changed everything. Howard returned to Seattle brimming with excitement. He pitched the idea of turning Starbucks into a cafe chain, a place where people could linger, talk, and feel a sense of belonging. But the original founders didn't see the vision. They believed in selling beans, not beverages. So Howard made a life-altering decision. He left Starbucks and raised money to launch his own coffee shop, Illinois Journal. The road wasn't easy. Investors doubted him. Banks turned him down. People laughed at the idea of Americans wanting European-style coffee culture. But Howard persisted. He scraped together funding, opened Il Journal, and proved that his idea could work. Soon after, Starbucks came up for sale, and with courage, hustle, and borrowed money, Howard bought the entire company in 1987 for $3.8 million. From that moment, he went all in. He expanded Starbucks across Seattle, then the West Coast, then across America. But this wasn't just a business expansion, it was a mission. He built every store with one goal: to create a third place between home and work, where people could feel seen, safe, and human. He focused relentlessly on quality, atmosphere, and customer service. He didn't want to sell coffee. He wanted to sell connection. He introduced Italian espresso culture to the American mainstream, trained baristas with reverence, and made each store feel like a community hub. And he didn't forget his roots. He offered health insurance to part-time workers, stock options to baristas, and a company culture built on shared values. In a world where corporations often treat workers as numbers, Howard did the opposite. He treated them as family. Under his leadership, Starbucks exploded. From a handful of stores in the late 80s to hundreds in the 90s and thousands in the 2000s. It became a cultural icon, a global brand, and a $100 billion empire. But like all great stories, there were storms. The 2008 financial crisis rocked Starbucks. Sales dropped. Morale faded. The magic was slipping. Howard, who had stepped down as CEO, returned to rescue his creation. He closed all U.S. stores for a day to retrain baristas, a bold move that cost millions but sent a message: quality matters. He revamped operations, innovated new offerings, embraced digital orders, and restored the heartbeat of the brand. Once again, Starbucks rose. And once again, Howard proved that purpose always wins over panic. But what truly sets his journey apart isn't just business growth. It's the philosophy behind it. Howard Schultz believed that profit and conscience could coexist. that you could be successful and still have a soul. He opened stores in underserved communities. He launched college tuition programs for employees. He used the Starbucks platform to advocate for veterans, refugees, and racial equity. And he did it not to check boxes, but because he believed it was right. Despite critics and crises, Howard never strayed from his original mission: to build a company his father would have been proud to work for. The kid from Brooklyn who once had nothing now led a company serving millions of people every day across 80 countries. But his definition of success wasn't money, it was impact. It was seeing a single mom behind the counter build a better life. It was knowing a homeless teen found their first job and dignity in a green apron. It was creating a brand that didn't just fill cups, it filled hearts. Howard's journey teaches us that where you start doesn't define where you finish. You don't need to be born rich, connected, or brilliant to succeed. You need grit, vision, and an unshakable belief that your dream matters, even when nobody else sees it yet. His story is a masterclass in perseverance, a lesson in courage, a blueprint for building something meaningful from nothing but belief. He didn't chase coffee, he chased purpose. And in doing so, he changed how the world thinks about business, culture, and community. So the next time you walk into a Starbucks, know that you're stepping into more than a coffee shop. You're stepping into a dream born in the shadows of poverty. A vision that fought through rejection, doubt, and failure. A mission to serve people with dignity, no matter their background. Howard Schultz didn't just build a coffee empire, he built a legacy. One that proves anyone from anywhere can rise to build something that matters. You don't need perfect circumstances. You just need the courage to start, the heart to care, and the fire to never give up.